It started like any ordinary evening. I had just returned from work, exhausted but looking forward to a quiet night with my wife, Megan. The apartment was strangely silent. Usually, she'd be humming in the kitchen or catching up on her favorite show. But tonight, nothing. I set my bag down and called her name. No response. Curiosity and unease crept over me as I moved toward the bedroom. And that's when I saw it, her not alone, in a scene that would haunt me forever. A man I didn't know sat on our bed. Megan was leaning close to him, laughing, touching his arm. Their comfort, their intimacy, made my stomach twist. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to storm in, to demand an explanation. But instead, I turned silently, my mind racing. I walked to the living room and began packing. Clothes. Personal items. Important documents. Memories I no longer wanted to associate with her. That's when she noticed. Her laughter faded, replaced with shock and confusion. "Mark, what are you doing?" I didn't look up. I continued folding shirts, placing them carefully in the suitcase. My voice was steady. "Packing. Leaving. You should know why." Her face twisted in disbelief. You can't leave. Don't be dramatic." I stopped for a moment, meeting her gaze. Dramatic? No, Megan. I'm done pretending. I'm done trusting someone who betrays me. She shouted then, words burned into my memory. You think you can just walk away? After everything? You're weak. I paused, letting the words sink in. Then I calmly replied, weak? No. Strong enough to leave a life built on lies. Strong enough to reclaim my dignity. Her voice cracked. You don't understand. It's not what it looks like. I didn't respond. Actions spoke louder than any excuse. I zipped the suitcase, locked it, and left it by the door. For a moment, she tried to physically block me, grab my arm, plead, even beg. But I remained steady, refusing to be swayed by theatrics. I walked out of the apartment, leaving her standing there, the weight of her choices crashing down on her. The city streets were empty that night, mirroring the emptiness I felt inside. But with every step, I felt clarity growing, a sense of freedom I hadn't expected. I found a motel nearby and spent the night going over memories, replaying moments that now seemed like illusions. The next morning, I called a lawyer, began the process of separating our lives legally, emotionally, and financially. Megan sent messages, frantic, apologetic, demanding explanations. I didn't answer. I had already made up my mind. Weeks passed. I moved to a small apartment, slowly rebuilding. Friends checked in, supportive but shocked by the revelation. One day, a mutual friend told me she was asking around, trying to figure out if I would return, if I would forgive her. I smiled faintly. No. Forgiveness doesn't erase betrayal. Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild. Months later, I heard she had left the apartment, trying to find someone to fill the void she created. But I didn't care. I had moved on. The night I discovered her affair, the moment she shouted at me, it became a turning point, a memory that fueled my resolve to never allow such disrespect again. Sometimes, the loudest lessons come not from confrontation, but from calm, decisive action. I didn't yell. I didn't chase. I simply walked away, letting the truth and her own actions speak for themselves. By the end, she realized too late that betrayal carries consequences, and some doors, once closed, never reopen. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, and my peace. And that night, her shouting words became a reminder of my strength. The memory of her betrayal remains, but so does the knowledge that I chose myself over lies, deception, and heartbreak. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most liberating. And every time I think of her shouting at me that night, I remember, leaving was not weakness, it was courage. Do you want me to do that version too?